You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the October 20th, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Florence Mitchell. In today's meeting, under Finance and Administration, Councillor Heenan will move that Bylaw 25-04, regulating the composition of council, be given its second and third readings. Under Economic Development, Business and Culture, Councillor Weir will move that Council grants leave for the first reading of Bylaw 25-05, imposing a special business improvement levy, and that a public hearing of objections be held November 17th at 6:15 p.m. Councillor Weir will also move that Council supports the 2026 Winter Warmer Festival with a community assistance grant of $500. Under Planning and Community Development, Councillor Harland will move that Council gives Bylaw Z22-12, an amendment to the zoning bylaw for Harbourtown Builders at 236 Mowat Drive, its first reading, to set a date of November 17th at 6 p.m. for a public hearing of objections, and to obtain views of the Planning Advisory Committee. Additionally, Councillor Harland will move that Council enters into a Memorandum of Understanding with Horizon Health Network surrounding renovations to the St. Andrews Wellness Centre and the addition of services. Under New Business, there will be a 2026 Capital Budget Review. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
Okay, Council, let's call the meeting to order at, oh, that's the wrong time, 6:30 p.m. Thank you, Councillor Bennett, at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in the Council Chambers. So first is the recording of attendance, and we note that Deputy Mayor Neil is not here, and Councillor Mark Blanchett is not here. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Neil. Okay, and we are on the land of the Beskotomakati Nation. We welcome you and we recognize that this is the unceded traditional territory of the Beskotomakati people. If you wish to add a question or at the end of our meeting, you would send it to clerk@townofstandrews.ca. Approval of the agenda. I need a mover, Councillor Gumashal, and a seconder would be Councillor. Okay, Gumashal.
Sorry, the staff missed who seconded it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Councillor. Yes, you may.
With the amended memo for PCD 251004, does that have to be included in the agenda? It's an amended copy?
I don't think so because it's part of the package.
But it's already there.
It's already there?
It replaces the page that was put in there.
All right, thank you.
So
Thank you, Your Worship.
So moved in second. So ready for the question? All those in favor of accepting the agenda, say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any places where there are conflict of interest, Council, for you? Not seeing any. We do have a presentation. No presentation tonight. Guess we don't have a presentation. So we'll go through the approval of the minutes, and we'll do them like we normally do, very quickly. If there's anything that needs to be added, please let me know. The approval of the minutes of the previous meeting on the hearing of objections, the minutes of the public hearing of objections meeting, which was on the Monday, October the 6th, 2025 at 6:15. I need a mover. Councillor Heenan, and a seconder. Councillor Gumashal. Any errors or omissions, Council? No? Okay, ready for the question. All those in favor of accepting it, say aye. Carried. Thank you. And the second one is the minutes of the regular meeting of council, which was on Monday, October the 6th at 2025 at 6:30 p.m. I need a mover. Councillor Harland. Seconder. Councillor Heenan. Any errors or omissions? Changes? Okay, all ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried. Oh, sorry. Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. So we're done that. Communications, Sally Leggett, Explore St. Andrews. The monthly update, we got that. Is there anything you want to add, Mr. Spear? Sorry, going for your microphone.
No, just council, the way it worked, she was submitting them with the regular council's reports, but we just got crossed hairs, so we just agreed she'd submit them mid-month from
Okay.
moving forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spear. So we don't need to do anything with that. And we're into staff reports. What? No, none? Okay. Introduction and consideration and passing of bylaws and motions. And the first one is the Finance and Administration Committee, which is Councillor Heenan. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, and guests. It's reference number FA 251029, Bylaw 25-04, Composition of Council Bylaw, second and third reading. Earlier in the spring, Council reviewed the current composition and made an application to reduce the number of councillors from 9 to 6. After making applications to the Minister of Environment and Local Government to make the change, we were given approval to move forward last month. Council approved first reading of bylaw number 25-04, a bylaw regulating the composition of council of the town of St. Andrews on October the 6th, and held a public consultation session on October the 14th. Staff now recommends going to second and third reading so it can be submitted to the Minister of Local Government for final approval. The first motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the second reading of bylaw 25-04, a bylaw regulating the composition of council of the Town of St. Andrews, and Your Worship, I so move.
Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Seconder? Councillor Gomichel? Okay. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Harlan.
I just want to recognize that while I am very supportive of the reduction in the number of councillors, given the size of our population as a municipality, my hope is that perhaps the next council will consider that we look at the municipality as a municipality and have all councillors responsible for considering the needs of all three wards. I hope that eventually we will be able to move in that direction so that we can really become a fully integrated municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harlan, and I fully agree. I hope that it does become. Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship, I just want to go on record that I totally support Councillor Harland in her approach to what happens in the next council. I felt that this council was just a little too soon in order to achieve this, but we have to keep moving forward, and Councillor Harland's right on the money that we need to do this. I just want it on the record. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. And as I said, I fully agree too that hopefully the next council will do that. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Weir, I didn't see your hand.
Yeah, I'll comment on that also. There are numerous municipalities in Canada and in New Brunswick who use the ward system. The ward system was around, I think, probably before councils of the whole, elected of the whole. There was a very valid reason for it. I think the valid reasons that existed for in excess of a century, or maybe 2 centuries. I don't study municipal history. But there are still a lot of places with wards. There's valid reasons for them. I think there's valid reasons in St. Andrews. So I guess I would just like to express the view that the ward system has worked well for over a century, and there's no reason why we should rush away from it in this particular municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Anyone else? Mr. Spear.
Actually, there's nothing to do with the motion. I just had a technical request that anyone with a phone on the desk, please bring it away from your microphones. It causes interference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. All right, that being said, we will now vote for the for this motion. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Carried. So now I read it for the first time, for the second time, correct? And I read it everything.
Yes, you can read it by title now if you like. And if we go to third reading, you can read it to full there, or vice versa, either time.
Okay, I'll read it, the whole thing, and then we'll just read it by title by the last one. Bylaw number 25-04, a bylaw regulating the composition of the Council of the Town of St. Andrews. Be it enacted by the Council of the Town of St. Andrews under the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act and amendments thereto, hereby makes and enacts this bylaw as follows. 1. Council composition. 1.1. The following identifies the composition of the council for the Town of St. Andrews. 1.1.1 Mayor, which was one at large. 1.1.2 Ward of Bayside, 1 councillor. 1.1.3 Ward of Shamcook, 1 councillor. And 1.1.4 Ward of St. Andrews is 4 councillors. 2. The repeal provision. 1.1 Bylaw number 02-3, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 99-1, a bylaw respecting the procedures and organization of the Town of St. Andrews, passed by council on June the 3rd, 2002, and amendments thereto are hereby repealed. So this was read the first time on the 6th day of October 2025. Public consultation was on the 14th day of October 2025. This is read the second time on the 20th day, is it 20th? Yes, 20th day of October 2025. And so, Councillor Heenan will have the second motion, please.
Thank you, Worship Council. Motion number 2, that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the third reading of Bylaw 25-04, a bylaw regulating the composition of Council of the Town of St. Andrews. I so move this.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. A seconder? Councillor Gomichelle. Any further discussion, Council? Mr. Spear.
Yes, Your Worship. When we're sitting here and you're reading it, we noticed there's a little typo there that because it's related to the composition, we better do it through an official amendment.
Okay.
So under the repeal division,
Yes?
we have it 1.1. It should actually be 2.1,
Okay.
just where it goes to elections, New
Yeah.
Brunswick and stuff. Staff didn't want to fix it after the fact. So,
Yes, that's right, because it's 1 by...
so I'm going to make the motion on behalf of council, but someone else will have to move it. That paragraph 2, section 1.1 be renumbered to section 2.1.
Thank you. It's Councillor Heenan, seconder. Councillor Bennett. Any questions? Any concerns? All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Carried. that amendment. Okay. Now we go back to the vote of the accepting of the second motion. So it was moved by Councillor Heenan and seconded by Councillor Gomichel. Now we will go to the vote. All those in favor, aye. Contrary minded? So that's carried. And so I will read it for the third and final time by title. Bylaw number 25-04, a bylaw regulating the composition of the Council of the Town of St. Andrews. Being enacted by the Council of the Town of St. Andrews under the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act and amendments thereto, hereby makes and enacts this bylaw as follows. 1 is council composition. 2 is repeal provision. And this is read for the third time on the 20th day of October 2025. Thank you, Council. And thank you, Councillor Heenan. Okay. Public Works, there is nothing. Economic Development, Business and Cultural Committee, Councillor Weir, on page 15. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Reference numbers EBC 251003. First reading of bylaw 25-05, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy. The background is in 1984, the Council of the Town of St. Andrews established the business improvement area on Water Street from Princess Royal to Elizabeth Streets. It establishes a levy through the property tax system from the businesses to allow for initiatives to improve and draw people to the downtown. On an annual basis, the BIA board must provide a copy of its proposed budget to council, who in turn approves the budget and creates a bylaw to impose a levy. The current amount of 20 cents per $100 of assessment has been in place for decades, and the maximum allowed under the Business Improvement Areas Act of New Brunswick. In addition to the bylaw, a hearing of objections must be held, which staff are recommending for November 17th, 2025 at 6:15 p.m. So the motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the first reading of bylaw 2505, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Seconder? Councillor Bennett? Any further discussion, Council? Okay, seeing none. The question is, are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye. Contrary-minded? Carried. Can I read this by title, Mr. Spear? Thank you. So bylaw number 25-05, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy. Pursuant to section 5(1) of the Business Improvement Areas Act, RSNB 2014, being enacted by the Council of the Town of St. Andrews as follows. 1, that a special business improvement tax shall be levied for the calendar year of 2026 on all non-residential property within the business improvement area of the town, said area having been designated in the Town of St. Andrews by bylaw number 72, enacted on June 4th, 1984. And number 2, that the special business improvement tax for the calendar year of 2026 shall be at the rate of 20 cents on each $100. Assessment of real property being the non-residential property in the business improvement area. And this is read for the first time on the 20th day of October. Okay, Councillor Weir? Is that it? We only do the one?
Oh, I just had a quick question on Schedule A. It's 2025 budget of the BIA. Is that 25 or 26?
Be 26. They
Oh,
prepared
sorry,
it this
26.
week, so they
Did I read
forgot
it
to
wrong?
forward it. No, you did it okay when they submitted it to me. They forgot to change the title, but
So it's 26.
yeah, their levy
Their
matches
levies
this year's
for
levy.
26, it was
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right.
And the second motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews sets the date of Monday, November 17th, 2025 at 6:15 p.m. at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Council Chambers for a public meeting of objections to draft bylaw number 25-05, a bylaw to impose a special improvement levy. I so move.
Okay, that's Councillor Weir. Seconder? Councillor Heenan? Any further comments, council? No? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. So second time? Yes, okay. No, okay. So, thank you, Councillor Weir. Public safety, there's nothing. Recreation, there's nothing for currently. Planning and Community Development Committee, Councillor Harlan and Councillor Heenan. Well, Councillor Harlan.
I think it's Councillor Weir.
Yeah, we skipped a motion
Oh,
there.
did I skip a motion? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Community Assistance Grant request for 2026 Winter Warmer Festival. Councillor Weir, sorry I skipped you.
Quite all right, happen anytime. EBC 251005, Community Assistance Grant request for the 2025 Winter Warmer Festival. And I guess I question whether it should be 2025 or 2026. Yeah, 26. Town of St. Andrews has received a community assistance grant request from the Winter Warmer Festival in the amount of $500. Please see the attached document for details. This event takes place January 29th to February 1st, 2026. Normally, the town starts the intake for community assistance grants for 2026 in January, with a review in February and funding released by March. However, as this event takes place at the end of January, it is appropriate for council to review the funding request. Note that in previous years, the town has provided $500 in community assistance grants to Winter Warmer Festival. The applicant has received funding from other sources, plus the Recreation Department stages activities in coordination with this festival to help promote and grow it as a family-friendly event. The motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews supports the Winter Warmer Festival 2026 with a community assistance grant of $500, and that the funds will come from the 2026 budget.
Sorry, that was my typo, but it should be 2025, so
Yeah,
we'd issue it this year.
So you're going to do it in 25?
Yeah.
Instead of 23, but anyway.
I know, I saw that.
I guessed at 26.
Thank-
So I will say from the 2025 budget, and I so move.
Thank you, Counselor Weir. Seconded by Counselor Gomichelle, or you have a question? No comment? Okay, second, thank you. Okay, any further discussion, council? Not seeing any. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried. Counterminded? Carried. All right. Moving right along. So I got him. Now we are moving on to Counselor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Akaji. So this is reference number PCD 251003. The subject is rezoning application Harbortown Builders 236 Mowat Drive. And the background is as follows. Council approved Z22-10 October 2024 to rezone PIDs 01325406, 01326214, and 15025083 from the SR Serviced Residential Zone to the ID Integrated Development Zone to allow up to 12 standalone condominiums on one lot with shared parking, a pocket neighborhood. As the applicants are now marketing the project and wish to develop slightly larger dwellings with attached garages, they are requesting a small piece of land from PID 15199-319, which is owned by the town, to be included in the project. Council agreed for this transfer, and staff are working with a surveyor and lawyer to finalize. As this piece of land was not subject to Z22-10, it must also go through the same process. Z22-12 rezones that portion of PID 15199-319 and applies the ID zone standards in Z22-10 to all subject PIDs. Attached to this report are the planner reports documenting the history of this proposal. And there are 3 motions attached to this reference number. And the first one is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for first reading of bylaw Z22-12, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z22-01, being zoning by the bylaw for the Town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. Seconder, Councillor Gomichelle. Any further discussion, council? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
The second motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews sets the date of Monday, November 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. for a public hearing of objections for Amendment Z22-12 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 15199-391 for 236 Mowat Drive for Harbortown Builders, as per the Community Planning Act, Section 111. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. Seconded by Councillor Gomichelle's got his hand up already. Okay, any further discussion, council? Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. And the last one, Councillor Harland?
Motion 3, that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews obtains views of the Planning Advisory Committee for Amendment Z22-12 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 1519939 for for PID 15199-391 for 236 Mowat Drive for Harbortown Builders, as per the Community Planning Act, Section 110, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Harland. Seconded by Councillor Gomichelle.
Your Worship,
Yes?
I think I see a typo there.
Okay,
And when Councillor Harlan read it over, I realized what reversed the last two digits. So if you
Okay.
go to one of the previous motions, you see it's 1519939, or no, maybe.
319
Yeah,
instead of
319.
391.
I just
So
gotta double
reverse
check.
them?
I just want to make a double check now.
It's 3-1.
It's 391's the correct one.
Okay,
Three-
well, that's what she read.
So up in the background, it's wrong then.
Yeah.
I-
Okay. Phew, that doesn't
Good
count for
catch.
anything, so.
So in the background, it's wrong.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay? Do we, that's just a friendly amendment, we don't have to, okay. Sorry? Okay, all right, so, any further discussion, council? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, carried unanimously. All right, so I will read the whole motion for the third time because we didn't do it the first two times, but I can read it through the whole thing, and that's first, second, and third?
No, this is only our first reading, so just read it by title. We'll do, at a future meeting, we can read the rest.
Thank you. Bylaw number Z22-12, a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z22-01, being zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. And so being enacted by the council of the town of St. Andrews as follows. Do I have to read all that? Just number 1 and number 2? And so it's read the first time this 20th day of October 2025. Thank you, Councillor Harland. Okay. That's done. Where's my second page? Lost it. Sorry. Okay.
Council, just as a reminder, that page, at the first of the meeting, page 71 to 75, there was a typo in the one given with the package, so we included it on the table tonight. So, yeah, so Councillor Heaney, if you could read from that.
We
if you
all
could.
got the new one, but
Yeah, just want to make sure everyone's in the same boat.
I've lost my second page. Hold on. Just have lost my second page. Sorry. This must have stuck in between. Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay, thank you. That's the one that we just got, that replaced it, right? Okay, so, Counselor Heenan, this is yours.
Thank you, Worship Council. It's PCD 251004, Memo of Understanding with Horizon Health. The background is, for the last few years, Council has supported an ad hoc physician recruitment committee that has made efforts to improve healthcare services, including recruitment of family physicians and the addition of a, how do you pronounce that, Mr. Spear? Lobotomy lab. In the fall of 2024, the town received verbal confirmation that 3 additional doctors will be coming to St. Andrews Wellness Center who have agreed to prioritize local patients who have no family physician. In appreciation of the efforts of council, including the investment in the current facility, Horizon Health has agreed to fund the renovations now needed to allow for extra service providers. They will pay fully for the renovation in exchange for not charging the new provider's rent for a 5-year period. The cost of renovations are approximately estimated at $250,000 to $300,000. As this is a legal agreement, council may wish to go to closed session under 68(1)(c) of local governments, which is information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or local government or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract, to discuss any concerns. The action is in motion that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews enters into a memo of understanding with Horizon Health Network surrounding renovations to the St. Andrews Wellness Center and additional services. And Your Worship, I'll move for that.
Thank you. A seconder? Counselor Neal? Deputy Mayor Neal, sorry. Any further discussion, council?
Yes, Mayor, I was just going to make a motion that we do move that into closed session under the Local Governance Act that Councillor Heenan mentioned there.
Okay, move to. You second it? Thank you. That's Council Deputy Mayor Neal and seconded by Councillor Weir. So we do the amendment first, correct? No, we do just a motion that we're going to move this to closed session? And he just made it, so do we all vote? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Contrary minded? Carried to move it into closed session, so we'll have that for closed session. All right. I can't seem to find my second page, third page. All right, oh, there it is, okay. Still can't find it. All right. So, what? We're gonna, to the end? And then, okay. You have your last page, I don't have it.
So I
So,
guess a motion to come back to open session, technically, yeah.
Yeah, as a result of moving that to closed session, I'll make a motion that we table it until the closed session this evening, and then we can come back out and deal with the motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. So, all those in favor? Carried. So we'll do that at the end. So, there's no new business? No?
Well,
There is one, just that,
yeah, Your Worship, I guess technically we need also a motion to come back into open, so that table that we should have a
okay.
motion just to,
So, do we have a motion, Councillor Bennett, to come back into regular session, and seconded by Councillor Harland? Any, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? So we're back out, and we'll do the closed session at the end. So there's no new business, Councillor, Mr. Spear, no? So
we're
just the
hoping to go
budget.
through the capital budget that we started last week with the operations, just to keep the process, if council's okay with that. We're only
Yeah.
35 minutes into the meeting.
Okay,
First question, does everybody have a copy of their budget from last week?
you, but,
We brought, okay,
yeah, the
Yeah.
long one.
Mr. McKinnon has a handful of extra copies, if anyone's missing it.
Okay, Mr. Spear?
Okay, so council, it might be easier, the asset manager had prepared this one, like some of you have. It's not the one that says the 2029 budget, but the one that lists just the capital items. And so my plan tonight is only to go over significant items. If anyone wants me to go line by line, I'm more than happy to, but the asset manager's provided pretty good descriptions of everything. And again, this is just a review, and we can next week after we get through this, the next meeting on next Monday night, we'll start to deep dive into this. So under equipment and vehicles, there's the Zamboni for $167,000. We did have a discussion last week, and I'll follow up a bit by then, but the last two Zambonis we've kept for 20 years. And so the discussion was an electric Zamboni versus a propane Zamboni. And the electric Zamboni, even the salesmen are saying the batteries only have a warranty of about 10 years. And what we're finding with electronic equipment or electric vehicles like that the batteries are a significant cost. So staff's recommendation is to stay with the propane. Later down in that same section, at Public Works. So we have two sidewalk machines. Now, these machines have two purposes, and we're taking on more sidewalks every year, but they do the sidewalks. And one of the problems we have is in significant storms, which we haven't had for 2 or 3 years, is one machine won't keep up with the snow. So this is like an event that might be 30 centimeters plus, that it's hard, and then it really bows it down. But more importantly, as you're aware, we remove a lot of the snow in the downtown area. So anywhere where there's a curb and sidewalk, we take the snow out. So one of those machines blows it into the truck, and the other one's plowing it ahead. And so we have become reliant on the two machines for the efficient run of this service. And as you see there, we've had to put significant repairs into this machine, and so we're just hoping in the operations budget we talked about last week, we actually bumped it up to get us through this winter with this machine in case it has issues. But the $280,000, if you approve this machine, it'll take several months, so we wouldn't have it until the winter of 26, 27. It is staff's recommendation to go with that. So if it's okay with council, I don't plan on going through anything beyond next year's budget. He has a 5-year budget here, but really council only needs to make decisions. The rest is the show are allocating. I'm happy to go over it if council wishes, but it can change year by year. So I'm flipping a few pages ahead to the Transportation Network 2026. And the top one is Crestwood Lane. So Crestwood Lane, as you know, is going down the 127 just off of Mowat, and it's in very poor shape. And so it has to be completely pulverized. And sometimes you can just take off the top layer and just repave, but this one you have to take it right down to the gravel. Everything's in such bad shape. So that's why the large price tag of $280,000. The next one on Prince of Wales Street is not the work currently being done by the Sir Vincent Massey down towards the exercise park. This is the area up by the Algonquin, which had some pipe work done earlier in this year in May. And so to finish the asphalting there, or 4 blocks, it's $120,000.
Is that where we had the pipe report?
Yes. Yeah. And then Water Street, staff are recommending that we replace the asphalt sidewalk from Princess Royal and Patrick to a concrete sidewalk. As he mentions, they've had to do several repairs. This is something that would be a good thing to do, but not a necessity. There won't be a loss of service. There's a bit of tripping hazards and stuff. There's no doubt about that. There's areas where it is a little bit has buildup and stuff. It's about 4 done. And it's also several blocks, and as he says there, if you want to do it in smaller segments over 2 to 4 years, that could also be done. So I'm going to skip ahead 4 pages, front and back, or two pieces of paper pages, to Building Structures and Grounds 2026. So most of those are smaller items. One thing I'll bring to your attention is we've doubled the budget for council for computers, just because it's an election year. The other thing is, we do use eScribe, which can be a paperless system if council so chooses, so we may want to invest in tablets if the future councils want. The Bayside Community Hall should have 18 windows replaced. They're starting to rot around the vinyl and stuff. There'll probably be some funding for that where it's an energy efficiency, but staff are recommending that all 18. Again, it could be done in phases, but it'd probably be better just to get it all done at once, and then that building with the renovations between the committee that have done the last few years and the town's made some investments in things, that building should be pretty good for several years now. And then the arena. So to upgrade the washroom in the lobby, which we don't think have been touched since the building was built, it's about $125,000. Yeah, the ones off the main lobby, which seems like a lot, but after doing the ones downtown, it requires a lot. Yep.
Would this be the same situation as the ones on Water Street, that the town crew does a lot of the work through the winter if possible?
Yeah, so so what the town crew needs to have done, or needs to pay a contractor to do, is the plumbing. And what the problem, like it was in Town Hall, these buildings were built back in the day when they thought it was a fantastic idea to put plumbing in concrete. And so it takes a lot of work to bang that out and work it around. And as you know, this building is cinder blocks too. And so when we found out when we had the leak last year, we had to break out the walls in order to get at stuff. So a lot of that will have to be done, as far as the plumbing will be done by a contractor, but any of the other physical renovations, floor, wall, ceiling, can be done by our own crew.
Okay.
And I assume that we would want to do that through the summer months, not the winter months.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, winter's kind of busy.
Is that like more of an issue for the town crew, where again, they're obviously a little busier come summertime?
Well, it's a priority session, so we just have to, we are lucky to have 2 or 3 people on staff who are carpenters.
Yep.
Some that even have worked as contractors, as carpenters. So I won't say they'll fly through this fast, but at the same time, they can do the work, they have the skills, and then we'll just work around it. So probably like in early to mid-April. There's kind of a soft season anywhere there, like when April starts, where you're not able to mow or do much yard work because it's still muddy and that thing. So once the Alpine is done for the season that the curling club hosts towards the end of March, next Monday, I suspect Terry and them will be in there starting to take at that.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Councillor Heenan?
Yes, and as a reminder, we have summer students in the summertime that pick up some of the slack, correct, Mr. Spear, for mowing, et cetera, so could help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Now, I will say, council, we'd originally planned a couple of years ago to use the marketing, our portion of the tourism accommodation levy. But as we're going to see later in the thing, our parking is probably going to use up all of that. I think there could be extra funding. There's programs through recreation and things that will help some of it that we'll investigate. And as soon as council gets closer to a final budget, we'll throw in all our applications. But just so you're aware. I'll just make a note that for stormwater mains, that we're going to be doing video assessments this year. There's nothing that tends to be in dire need, but we can do inspections in the fall. He's done one round, he'll do another round next spring and be able to determine where there's rooting or breaking in the storm sewers and be able to give a better recommendation, but for 2026, there's no concerns. Now, just, you might have noticed if you look carefully, there's 2 things that are different between what Terry has presented and what I finally put in the budget as massaging things. One is the wharf. I'd broken that down a little differently, we're going to, I think I had $1 million for next year in the financial budget. Yeah. So I'm jumping a little bit, but it's okay to leave it there. It's just I didn't have Terry for next year, or the asset manager, had 2.5 million, just not knowing what would happen next year. And I actually spread it up for $1 million next year and $1 million in 2027 in a different budget, Councillor, the one that the full budget like this one. If you're comparing, just aware, but I met with Councillors Neil and Weir earlier today about that RFP. We have a couple of questions, so hopefully we'll get those answered and possibly bring it to council next week for approval, hopefully. And the other thing that I put in my financial budget that didn't show up in Terry's is the Shamcook Dam. Now, I had provided you a copy of a PowerPoint, then I provided last week a copy of the full engineering assessment. I still put any work on that till the year after next, only because I think there has to be some discussions with other partners, because it's a significant cost. As you know, it's $2 million plus to repair that. And so for the time being, that's in 2027, 2028. And so it's not in this budget. We'll fix that and make them agree, but it is in my financial budget for everything. So towards the end of the budget, there's something called new capital department requests. So everything we had before is basically refurbishments and keeping services at a level. We're replacing equipment that we currently use. So these are new items that we have. So the youth center, as you know, we're doing some work in where the fence is on the side that's near the community garden. And they would like to upgrade that to like a nicer recreational area for the members. It would cost about $35,000. They have it all priced out and things. And Mr. Acton has some stuff included there. Something called the Queen Street Extension was the new parking lot that we'd had discussions, and Alan Fyander had said about instead of putting, so we're talking about the trailhead in Water Street, and at one point we had a discussion about bringing it right off Water Street, and this is the cost to bring it off of Queen Street and continue, but so there's 12 standing stalls, but if we don't pave it and stuff, Terry said if it's just really rough gravel, they should be able to do it for about $50,000, not the $375,000. Well, and it's rough gravel. So part of the problem is the Queen Street Extension, once you get by the two homes on the other side of Patrick, the road's in really bad shape. And in fact, it's basically forest land, and sort of get it by the trailhead. Whoops, sorry, Flo. To get it by the trailhead, we have to upgrade the road and then the parking lot. One thing we might recommend, and we can reprice this, is to maybe where there's accessible parking. If we're going to do it right, we probably should have that paved so people with mobility issues can, use that to get to the paved trail. But it could just be that section that's designated. It's just something out there we said we could do, or just do 2 or 3 stalls like that. If people are for people that are in or that might be using everything from wheelchairs to a walker or something, which we have a few. Even those motorized devices have pretty small wheels, so a gravel road wouldn't be the most comfortable. So we want to continue on our surveillance cameras, about $10,000. These are mostly just on our own property. We haven't really invested in going on streets yet. So going back to a comment I made earlier about that development fund, at the end of this year, it's going to set at between $400,000 and $500,000. So we talked about $375,000 for the Queen Street extension. For the Legion parking lot, if we fully upgrade it to paving, if we fill in where the ditches are now and run storm sewer, it's going to cost us close to $500,000. Yeah, I mean, it could be, once you go to tender, it could be a bit less, but you know, it's probably 400, 350 to 400 would be the absolute least. As it is, it can be used. There's no doubt about it. But if you want to get the most out of it, to up to 55 parking spaces, I think we had, you'd have to make an investment in it.
Sorry, Councillor Heenan.
Harlan, raise your hand
Oh,
first. Your
sorry, Councillor Harlan, sorry.
Thanks. So as is, without the additional paving of the culverts, what's the number of parking spaces we can get?
I'm going to guess around 30, because it has a full, complete row by filling in around there.
Okay.
And also makes extra exits, so instead of, it'll give more possibility.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Heenan.
Mr. Spear, I remember one year when we leased that lot and we put in crushed rock. And then they even lined the crushed rock? Is that a viable idea, or is that just like a Band-Aid?
No, it's viable. We can keep it. It's, I guess, and that's kind of the weighing council has to do. And we'll recount those just so I confirm that that number I gave you was correct. But it's to get the maximum number of spaces, around 50 is what that investment would needed to be. So,
I just remember.
but yeah, I mean, pretty much as it is right now, it's being used, right? You can just
Right.
fill in the potholes and press them down and keep it the lower number.
And there is a section on the front too for
Yeah.
4 or 5. Okay,
I think the big thing is to make sure people know it's public parking. And some can.
Yeah, for sure. Then there's other things there, so we'd like to replace the doors at Centennial Park with accessible door with timed locks. So town hall's in time locks right now, so staff don't have to come in, we can leave it open, so it opens by itself in the mornings and locks itself at nights. It's nice to have, because right now, especially Centennial Park, we rely on either Public Works closes it when they leave around 4:35, or the blockhouse crew shuts it around 6, so this might be able to extend the hours for the washrooms down there by a couple hours.
great. That would be great, I think.
The museum heat pump, then the fire department has several, including that boat motor that we talked about earlier. I told Councilor Neal, I thought we had bumped it, but no, he just had moved it to a different part. But most of that stuff's small, about a probably total investment of about $20,000 for the fire department.
As long as I get a ride on that.
Yeah, for Public Works, they'd like to install solar flashing pedestrian lights at the arena crosswalk here, probably sooner rather than later, the truth be told. I mean, it's, as you can see, it's pitch black by 6 o'clock, and time change in a couple of weeks, so it'll be by 5 o'clock. We'd like to invest in additional AEDs across town. I think they're good to have. Luckily, actually, I think the wharf maybe's been deployed once, but the rest of them, it's always good to have, and that comes with levels of training. Public Works would like to replace 3 bleachers. The bleachers we have been around a while, and these ones is lower, providing improved accessibilities for users while being maintenance-free. So it'll just mean they'll go around. The ones we currently use, as you can see, are kind of rough shape. And the fire department would like to update the dress uniforms for some of their new, for the new members. For Public Works, when it says raise Public Works garage door, what they mean is that it's not raising the physical door, but it's to cut a piece out of the header, and so it's a higher thing, because some of our backhoes and stuff are having trouble getting in without really making sure it's just small. Then you get ice and stuff in the winter, and then they have to have somebody on the ground kind of steering them in to make sure they're not going to run into the door. So they just want to increase the height of the entryway and put a new door in there. That's the 15. And with the approval of the size of our council tonight, the composition, I'm sure these all look nice, but these are CHCO plastic tables underneath these black claws. So we'd like to put in appropriate desks and stuff for the councillors of the time for the next election. That's what that's for. And the last one is the youth have a request to upgrade the park. So back in the day, I'm going to say maybe 12, 15 years ago, there was a big community effort in town to raise funding for the park. And some of you might remember they had TSN's, I can't remember even what it was called. It wasn't Hockeyville, but it was something. They actually set up at the point and did a live broadcast here, and there's hundreds of people there. But there was, I want to say, $50,000 donation, I think, towards our project. I kind of can't remember what the total was. Might have been 25. And then I can remember there's several volunteers. One that comes to mind is Pat Scouten, whose kids are probably in college or have their own kids now, was instrumental in helping fundraise for that too. And that helped build the one that's there. Most of the money there was community driven. And so they would like us to consider that as well. I mean, like everything else, there might be an opportunity to say the council will match up to half or something and then ask them to do fundraising, but that's there, just your consideration. One thing, there was a late request that didn't make this version of the budget, but you heard me talking earlier to May Doyle, or pickleball. And I sent an email this afternoon, but I'll include it next week, that they're hoping to set up some type of pickleball courts, permanent location. Currently, all they have is inside at the NBCC gym. I think they rent that all year long.
It's expensive to lease as well.
Yes, it is. And council helped out last year, I think it was for that space. So I'll add that to next version of this budget. I'll note it, that's been added, but just to show the effect. I can say that there's still a lot of work to do in the funding, just so you're aware. But even here, basically I took capital funding as aware of, funding as aware of, plus the new $250,000 from the province, which we're grateful for, which will carry forward in the future years for capital refurbishment, and just plugged it in. And our debt ratio actually stayed pretty good. It was 4% this year, 4% in 2026, 4.5% in 2027. It jumped way up in 2028 and 29 because of the Shamcook Dam refurbishment. But I made zero assumptions about funding, and I'm sure we can find funding partners on that. And so I want to say it jumped up to 6 or 7% of our total budget for just with those. But I believe we can probably find at least a partner willing to invest 50% or better in that, whether it's the province or a federal agency to help us there. Because I called the province about, and I had a question about dams, and they said, we think you're the only municipality in all of New Brunswick that owns a dam. I said, well, that's good to know, writing the rules as we go. So that may or may not be true, but it's an unusual asset for a town to have, so we have to kind of figure it out how it's going to be managed. And council, that is a fairly quick forecast of all our requests. As Mr. Acton had mentioned earlier in the report, the first half of the requests before we got to the new department head requests were refurbishments, so maintaining the same levels of services we already have. That if you want to forego some of those, just understand that could be at a cost of a level of service or higher heating costs and stuff like that. That's the risk. One of the items that tends to get pushed back a lot is the paving within the town, but we've been doing that a long time, and our roads are starting to show the price of that. Like, most of our main arteries have lots of cracking, or where people have dug into them to put in new sewer and water lines, and it's just, which looks good for a couple of years and then starts to deteriorate. So it's always a struggle, I know, but it's one of those things that the transportation network we've really put off for a lot of times. And I'm as guilty as anyone saying, well, that pavement looks like it'll be good for another 10 years. But then it goes from looking good to looking really bad in a couple of years. And so, council should probably start investing more on an annual basis to bring that into line, in my opinion. And that's all I have for tonight, council. Like I said, next week we'll start to get into really deep dive or more questions. Is there any questions for tonight?
Any questions for Mr. Spear, council? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Spear, in the winter, spring of this past year, we discussed digital speed signs on the 2 routes coming into town.
Yeah.
And we approved 2 signs, and I understand that they weren't purchased because of the amount of money that was required to purchase them. So if that's not something that's on the radar, is that something that we can add into this budget?
Yeah, no, certainly, and I'll even look, so we might be able to purchase them this year, so there was some unexpected funding that came in from other sources, not for speed signs, but for other investments, so Andrew, what's his title? Deputy Treasurer. The Deputy Treasurer and I are going to go through and make projections for 2025, and my recommendation is probably to invest in those and get those up sooner rather than later, so we'll have a look and try to get those going, and make a recommendation to council.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Any other questions, Council? Okay, great. Now we're into question period. Are there any questions from the audience? Mrs. Sims?
Susan Sims, St. Andrews. My first question is, what is the definition of family-friendly? What is the criterion? What events do we have that are family-friendly? Which events do we have that are not family-friendly?
Well, just, it'd be a better question for our recreation manager, Mervyn. But what I mean by family friendly, let's take Paddle Fest. It's a great event, but not necessarily for children and young teens to attend. The music and stuff isn't along their lines. So family friendly just means that it encompasses as many ages as we can. So it tends to be, so again, Winter Warmer, which specifically talked about it, had a lot of nighttime events. But now the recreation is trying to have events that'll include the kids, more physical activity. Well, Winter Warmer is primarily musical events and art stuff. They're going to have some recreational things that he's planning on doing this year.
My second question is about the new orange plastic barricades that we had. I was wondering what the feedback on those has been.
Minimal. It was. No, it's early, I guess. So I guess only two things. Public Works, it was a lot of work to install them, no doubt about it. They're going to provide a report to council. And you have to, just because if you were at the event, you noticed we had trucks at both ends, so they could be moved if there was, someone, like a vehicle had to get through, we could open it up by moving one of our staff trucks. And so that all took time. The only thing, the first time we used them, we noticed flushing, that there was little pieces of plastic all in them, so somebody sent me a picture of that. So Public Works has to go out and clean up little plastic beads from just where they're first molded. But besides that, it seems to be good. I know the BIA was in favor of it from the get-go. They had presented about half the cost to council. And so they're shorter than I like, which is good, because they were less intrusive when you walk by them. You knew they were there, but they still were a safety factor. So if anyone, so we could avoid any vehicles that had ill intent to hit into the open areas.
I wondered where the water that they were filled with, where it came from.
For town water supply, so hydrants mostly. The town has hoses and mechanisms that they can get smaller hoses into them. So I think they used maybe one fire truck for 2 or 3, but the rest they were just filling up by hydrants.
And how much water are we talking?
Really can't answer that, to be honest. I can figure that out for you. I'm going to guess there's 50 of them. I'm going to guess at maybe 200 gallons each, so maybe 10,000 gallons. But honestly, that's just I know the 50 for sure. How much goes into each one, I'm not sure.
What has it been taken into consideration that the water could freeze and expand and crack the plastic in the wintertime?
It has. They're emptied out every time, so they're moved in location empty. They're filled at location. Then they're emptied, put into the storm system and then reloaded on the vehicles.
So there's no chance of them freezing
No.
during the events?
Well, we won't be using them through any winter events. It's just anything where Water Street's open. So like Indulge and Canada Day is the
Only
the two
summer
biggest
events.
events. Mostly summer
Okay.
events. But only where where Water Street is closed down. So we use it for the farmers market too on Saturday morning of Indulge. So the Canada Day weekend, I think there's a farmer's market on the
Yes,
street
there is,
too.
yeah.
So on the street, so that might be used then as well. But it's just when the street is closed down,
Totally.
yeah.
I also want to comment that the Edison lights, I thought, looked fantastic. I thought they were very attractive and added a lot to Water Street. But I was wondering why they were left on all night long.
So, long story short, well, because they're plugged into the dusted-on lights, essentially, you know, the fancy power poles in Water Street, so they stay on all night. And it's just the power, so we don't have any way of turning off the poles without turning off the whole pole. So the electrical outlets are in the pole, and they're timed to the dusted-on timers. In fact, we had to find a mechanism to override them because they wanted them on before the sun went down, just to test them, so they were on at daylight hours too, and then just removed the next day.
So is the intention to use the Edison lights for, like
Other
this was the
events.
first one, so ongoing when we have events, are they going to be used? Or
Maybe.
only for
The public work,
indulge?
they're probably just for indulge, for two reasons. There's quite a lot of work to put up, but they, like winter events, say they get ice and stuff on them, they'll just come down.
I meant summer.
But for summer events, there's very few, maybe Canada would be the only summer event. We don't think it'd be appropriate to leave it up all summer long. They're kind of nice for that street market feel, but I don't know if they fit the downtown really well for a normal evening. But we're
you all-
open to suggestions.
You also mentioned putting lights on the crosswalk here by the arena. I was wondering if that is a result of there being incidents or concerns brought forward?
No, we just added this crosswalk this summer, so it's the first time after being asked for years and years to put one on, so we did. But it's just to remind people that there's a crosswalk there. But as far as I know, there hasn't been an incident, especially a serious one, maybe a near, but I've never heard.
A deer.
Well,
A deer.
Yeah.
Okay, you also mentioned swapping out the plastic tables. I was wondering a couple of things about that. Have there been any problems with these tables? And what happened to the town council table at the town hall that was refinished many years ago by the Classens in St. John?
So the first one's easy to answer. That went over to Minister's Island and is upstairs, I believe, in that we donated it over there. Just, it fit okay in that, if you remember, the old space was only, well, 15 feet wide by 30 feet long or something, so that board style. But it required a lot of our counselors to have their backs to the audience, which they didn't like, so that's why we went to this. And even before we moved here, we had a U-shape style for a few years. There's nothing really wrong with them. I guess I'd just go, if you go to other council chambers across the province, they look much better than ours. So certainly if council wants to keep this, they're more than welcome. But the tables can be used upstairs like they're, for the arena. And then we could have something that's, is more fitting for an elected council, in my opinion.
And what did you have a price for that to replace these?
Yeah, just $5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just wanted to, my final comment, I just wanted to say that at every meeting, and pretty much, I think that I attend, Mayor Akagi, or Acting Mayor Akagi, mentions that people can email and send in comments, and they will be responded to, and they can be brought up at council, and myself and other people I've spoken to have not received responses from many of the people on council that have been contacted, and the issues asked to be brought up at town council on our behalf have not been brought up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sims. Anybody else? Councillor Gomichelle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just through you to Mrs. Sims. I have noticed over the years that in our correspondence section, we don't always put a list of the correspondence that we get. And maybe that might be an exercise that we should be considering, so that I know that when emails come through, they get circulated, but perhaps we should be adding that into that correspondence section. Here's all the emails we got with regard to everything, and put it right in our package so that people who are sending in emails, it becomes public, but it's also accessible like with part of the agenda package. So that might be something we consider. Thank you for bringing that up, Mrs. Sims.
And thank you, Councillor Gomichel. We'll look into that. Anything else? You have to come to the microphone, Ellie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elaine Braff. I live in Shamcook. I just have a couple questions, and I'm sorry for my ignorance if I didn't understand the complete. So the vote was made tonight that we will only have one representation for vote. Okay. As a resident of Shamcook and had my store on Water Street for 18 years. I still own Garden by the Sea. I am now online, and I now wholesale throughout Atlantic Canada. But my company is still operating for 20 years as of next year. I've always felt very, very proud to be a part of this community. And I have never thought of myself as a Shamcooker. I have always thought of myself as part of this community. Tonight, I'm extremely disappointed. We are supposed to be united now. Amalgamation. Sorry, I have troubles with that word. That is unity. That is everybody being a part. There's many places in this world that do not have a voice. By making this decision tonight, I have one vote. I do not have another vote. That is discrimination. I have spent many years supporting this community. I'm going to throw this right out there. My husband's been a firefighter for 40 years. He lives in Shamcook. I wasn't going to bring this up, but go through the fire department alone. How many of those people live outside of St. Andrews? Do you really feel you are giving them respect by saying to them, you are only allowed one vote? And when it comes to saying, we're not there yet, that is disrespectful. By saying in 4 more years from now, what all can go on in 4 years? I love this community very, very much. I have made it my home. I'm a proud Canadian. I am an immigrant. And I am proud to be a part of St. Andrews, Shamcook, and Bayside. But this decision tonight, and for all of you that are in favor of not accepting us as part of St. Andrews, and only allowing us to have, I see looks, by only allowing us to have one vote, I'm sorry, I'm extremely disappointed in you. You all worked very, very hard, and I respect all of you for the amount of hours that you put in. But for all of you making this decision tonight to take away my right to vote, my right for representation, along with all of us that live in Shamcook and Bayside, I'm sorry, I'm very disappointed. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay. Councillor and Deputy Mayor's comments.
Oh, just a moment, Your Worship, just want to confirm there's no emails tonight either.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that's right, online. Councillor and Deputy Mayor's comments. Councillor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship, I would like to recognize our new clerk, Mac, Chris Mac. We're going to call him Mac, I assume.
Yes.
I would just like to personally welcome you to the team and thank you very much for coming and joining our staff here in St. Andrews. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate your effort. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Councillor Harland.
I just want to give a large shout out to Tressa Bevington, who organized, once again, a tremendous event with our Indulge Weekend. That event brings in a lot of people from outside of the town of St. Andrews. Our businesses benefit tremendously, but I would also say that we as a community benefit in terms of the opportunity to come together and share in those events. So I very much appreciate the work that is done around that, and I can only imagine how huge an endeavor it is. So thank you for that, Tressa.
Thank you, Councillor Harlan. Anyone else? Council. Okay, as mayor, I'd like to thank Tressa as well and the volunteers that worked with her, because they were there for hours. So our town staff who helped set up and take down, it was phenomenal. But it was, I was down in the core, and it was fun to see people out and to meet people. There were people who came back who've been away for 20-some years and came back to go to Indulge, and they had a great time. So it is a lot of work, so we thank Tressa and her crew for doing Indulge. I want to thank the councillors that went to UMNB, which is our Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick. There were quite a few that went, and we got a lot out of the courses and or the workshops and whatnot that they put on. It was fantastic, that whole weekend. And I'm still asking for bags for the food banks, because I took a whole bunch over, but they can always use more. I mean, we don't tend to forget them, but it just makes it a lot easier if you've got tons of those bags laying around. So if you do, bring them to the town office, and I will deliver them to the food banks to be used. So that's great. Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Spear? No?
We're not adjourning, Your Worship. We're going to close session again to
Yes.
discuss that matter.
Yes. So we're going to close session, so I'll have to ask you wonderful people who came to sit with us all night to leave while we go to close session. Thank you very much.
And Your Worship, you got to go through the vote still.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I have to do it again? All right, I need, at this time, to go into closed session. Do you have it written up so that we have it?
Yeah, that we go to closed session under 68(1)(c) of the Local Governments Act, information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract.
Mover? Councillor Heenan beat you by a second, Councillor Gomichelle. And Councillor Gomichelle second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. So at whatever time it is, 7:50, we are going into closed session, so we'll give the CHCO crew a chance to close down. Thank you, Flo, for being with us again tonight, and thank you for coming tonight.